What's up, everybody? It's Matthew Newman, aka Mr. Catch on Fire, and the I Just Want to Record podcast. Come kick back and enjoy conversations with folks about the complex and, yes, sometimes mundane intricacies of life, all meant to inspire you. Benjamin Carlton, we're back for part 2, man. We said that we had to do it. The conversation got so good last time that we had to end up stopping it for the sake of time, but knowing that we were going to come back from a part 2. How fitting for today, because yesterday, we celebrated 2 years in the fold of the greatest fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha
of all time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We started off last time that way.
Yeah.
And we're going to start it off this way as well. But this has been a crazy conversation. We've listened to some of the shorts. I've watched the full episode, kind of replay from the one, so I can't wait to post to share. But what I really want us to do today is focus on finishing out the best way that we can this conversation on openness. We discussed a lot. And a question that I'll ask you to start off this conversation is, what have we learned? Hopefully you can share what you've learned. I'll share a little bit of what I've learned in this past week reflecting on part 1. So what have you learned in reflection to our part 1 conversation?
In reflecting and thinking about what I wanted to talk about in part 2, time began to stand out. Because while we may think we have an infinite amount, we only have a little bit of time on earth to become all that we're supposed to be. And the more we spend closed off to our authentic selves, the less we spend enjoying the full purpose of our entity, of our life, our heart, our spirit, our mind. Why were we created, right? I don't think we'll ever be able to answer that question until we transition to the other side.
Wow.
And get like a full big picture. I don't know what it's going to be like, but I always imagine seeing a movie of my life play and God just sitting telling me and giving me explanation. Right? While we may search for a full understanding, we won't ever get it, because every day that we're given an opportunity to live is an opportunity to fulfill and carry out some type of purpose.
Wow.
So if you are still breathing, if you are still here, if you are still mentally well, physically well, you still have life and purpose to live. And the more we spend living for others, the more we spend closed off to our true selves, the less time we have enjoying our true selves.
I wonder what that movie would look like.
Yeah.
And that's a question for anybody watching, listening, is if you had an opportunity to watch the playback of your life, what would that movie look like?
Well, first of all, I am in entertainment, but I always, once you're in entertainment, you can't watch entertainment the same. You pick out all of they should have did that. The sound was this, the lighting was this. And I often, when I have to make decisions, I say to myself, Ben, if you were watching yourself on screen, what would you be screaming at yourself to do?
Yeah.
And you'd be like, don't go up the steps. The monster's upstairs. You got all the advice for the person on the screen, but when it comes to you, you're quiet.
Yeah.
And so if you are watching your own life, what would you be screaming at yourself right now? Put down the phone and write the proposal.
Wow.
Put down the hamburger and go to the gym.
Yes.
Like, what would you be screaming at yourself if you could watch yourself on screen? And so I always make my decisions based on that way.
That's incredible, man. What I think is weird is that not weird, but something that we can encourage our viewers and listeners to do. To your point is, ask yourself, what would you be screaming at yourself to do? What would you be screaming at yourself to say? It's because, to me, I said this morning at a middle school that I had an opportunity to speak at. It's a quote by Jim Rohn, and he says, what's easy to do is easy not to do. And so it's easy to go to the gym, but it's also easy not to go to the gym. One of my lady best friends today sent me a video of, it was a GIF or like some meme or whatever it was on social media, but what it showed was that this person stayed in the bed until they were late to wherever they were going. Right. And so you're oftentimes, you'll sit there on your phone, knowing that you have to be at a podcast recording at 11, knowing that you have to be at a school at 8:30 in the morning, but you're going to sit there until about 7:45 until you know you're going to be late to actually get up to do it.
Yeah.
The encouragement is that let's not wait until that moment. Let's not wait until it's late, until we know that we're going to be late. But let's just get to action. Somebody said on a consultancy call today, they said, when do I know that it's time to take action? When you get that idea.
Absolutely.
When you get that idea. When do I wake up for an 8 o'clock meeting? Probably at 6:30. If that's the time you wake up.
Yeah.
Have 30 minutes to prepare for yourself and then an hour to prepare for the meeting.
Yeah.
So that you're ready to rock and roll. Stop waiting. So this is something too, in my reflection this past week, is I've considered the word sacrifice. I told social yesterday that over the next 2 days, I'm going to post what I've learned twice for the next 2 days, right? Just for the past 2 years in Alpha. What are those lessons that I've learned? And for me, it's all about sacrifice. And openness requires sacrifice. And the reason why openness requires sacrifice is because it requires you to reveal a portion of yourself, your physical self, or your spiritual self, or your emotional self. It requires you to unlock or reveal an area of yourself that you have yet to reveal. And that requires sacrifice. It requires sacrifice of somebody knowing something that they never knew about you, that you are afraid to reveal, or it requires something that you are showing yourself that you were once afraid to face or to reveal. So to me, in this past week's reflection of part one, it was about sacrifice. And that's something that I've learned, again, even within our fraternity over these past 2 years. Brotherhood requires sacrifice, but so does openness. I'll give you this quote, and this quote is by Robert Mueller. We all know who Robert Mueller is. He says, what the world needs most is openness. Open hearts, open doors, open eyes, open minds, open ears, open souls. That quote, what does it say to you?
Well, firstly, tied into what you said about decisions. One of the things I learned this week in reflecting is that everything is a decision. There's no good, there's no bad, there's just a decision to be made. And however many years you spent not being open, you were fighting against that, right? However many years you spent in a habit, right? In a lifestyle, in your pattern, in your routine, you are now fighting against that because your body, your mind, your spirit wants to reset to norm, reset to what I've been doing every single day. But if you're now challenging yourself to have an open mind, have an open heart, have an open spirit, have an open hand, right? Have an open life, you are fighting against all the years you weren't open. And so every moment you have to make a decision. Am I going to be open in this? Am I going to let someone in? Am I going to be open to the new experience? Am I going to be open to the journey? I have no idea what's on the other side, but am I going to be open to it? Am I going to be open to taking a new route home today, right? Instead of driving the same way? Am I going to be open to going on that vacation? Am I going to be open to just resting and not dealing with work and letting my tasks just sit there? Am I going to be open to finally doing the tasks that I've written 6 months ago? Like, everything is a decision. And once you decide to be open, you have to consistently make decisions. It's not going to automatically come.
Wow.
You're not just going to automatically just be open to everything because your life has been spent closed. And so that's what you're used to. That's what your norm is.
We visited an elder brother who's in a nursing home. He's 96 years old. He says, man, 96 years on the earth as a Black man, it's been tough.
Yeah.
And when we had to reveal to him that his wife had passed away in another state, he said, I figured that. She told me. We were like, what? She told you? Yeah, we talked the other day. And he's in and out mentally, right? So we're just listening, asking those important questions as to like, how did she tell you? Whatever the case may be. But the point in all of this is that he said, I never would have imagined that I would end up, this is a doctor and an attorney, MD and an attorney. He said, I never would have imagined that I would find myself in this place. And a brother said, when we got back to the car, when we left, he says, do you know what, Brother Newman? Him being in the nursing home is just an accumulation of all of the decisions he made and the decisions he didn't make. Over the years, these 96 years of life, him being there is an accumulation of the decisions he didn't make and or the decisions he did make. That right there, from someone who was probably 50 to 60 years, his youth, brother in the nursing home, his youth was potent information. That's when it unlocked for me that said, dang, like everything does matter. The eating the or the burger, because ain't sponsoring the podcast, so we can't say the name.
Yeah.
But us eating that burger compared to eating that salad is a decision that we make. And it's not today that's going to affect us.
Absolutely.
It's the accumulation. So it's all about decisions. And even for you, I've listened to your stories as our relationship has evolved. And one of the things that hit me more recently was the transition of your father. And although I don't know the full backstory, and I'll ask that you share maybe some cliff notes on that, or you can go as deep as you like, but what that relationship was with your father and why you attending his services and you speaking the words that you spoke at his services that you very openly posted to social, full vulnerability. What did that situation or that season teach you about openness, and what decisions were made along the way to either strengthen the relationship before his passing or maintain that relationship, whatever it was, up until his passing?
Falling in the spirit of what we're talking about, it was all about being in the moment. Oftentimes we make decisions off of outdated information, or we make decisions off of unreal information. The outdated information is from the past. The unreal information is from the future. We don't know what's going to happen in the future, but we're making decisions based off it. Something happened 13, 14, 15 years ago. We're making the decision now based off something that is no longer here or relevant. And so I had to make a decision in the moment. Am I going to even attend this man's funeral? And if I attend, I know they're going to want me to speak. So what am I going to say? Because I've said, when he died, don't call me. When he dies, I don't want any parts of it. We never had a great relationship. He was in and out of our lives since I was a little kid. A lot of hurts, traumas, all the things. And I was in Thailand when he passed away. I was supposed to be there another 2 weeks. Wasn't supposed to be back. I was supposed to be, focusing on my next book, all that. And that just kind of changed everything. But in that moment, I said, Ben, you can't preach love and not be an example of love.
Wow.
You cannot tell people that there's a love for you greater than all the love in the world. And when it's time for you to present that love, you don't. And so my struggle was letting go of the decision that I made years ago that I didn't want to be a part of his funeral services. 2, it was, you are an evolved person now. You're an evolved human being. You've healed yourself from those hurts. And the true test of your healing is being able to stand up and speak kind words about a man that was not kind to you.
Wow.
And to be that example for people. Because if Christ can be on the cross and say, forgive them for they know not what they do, who am I?
Yeah.
If Christ can forgive the people that tortured him, beat him, slandered, all the things they did, then who am I? And so I had to muster up the words. I had like maybe 10 iterations of the speech, of the eulogy rather, but through my commitment to just love and self, like I did it for me. I didn't do it for anybody else. I did it for me so that I could know that I released and handled him, dead or alive, in love.
That's great. I'll say this. I forget who I was in conversation with the other day, but I don't believe that we've rehearsed what we preach enough.
Oh.
And I'll share a personal bit here shortly about why I say that. I was in church when I got that revelation, is that if we are to constantly speak, preach, and teach love, but find it very hard to give love when it's time for us to share that aspect of who we are just as guilty as the person who hates us when we're supposed to be loving them. Let me kind of bring this home. As I've been experiencing this this element of anxiety. I had so many worries about going to the doctor, going to see my therapist, all of these worries that was birthing greater anxiety. Do I have something? Is something wrong with me? Do I have what my mom had when she passed away? This is a whole nother podcast on trauma attached to something 19 years ago. To your point, something that happened 13, 14 years ago. But when I was sitting in church, I was in church worried when I should have been worshiping. Preach, Matthew, preach. Should have been worshiping, but I was worrying. And what I realized was, how much have you rehearsed your worship? When you said that no weapon formed against me shall prosper. When you've said that he's more than enough. When you've prayed for your healing and worshiped for your healing, but you've done it for everybody else. But now it's time for you to do it for yourself.
Yeah.
Do you have enough in you to carry you through what you're experiencing now? You teach it and preach it for everybody else. You say don't pray and worry at the same time. What about you? And that revelation for me, brother, has really, really, really helped me to be more intentional with what I'm saying and what I'm doing when I'm experiencing anxiety. Have we rehearsed our worship enough to now usher us through a season of difficulty, whatever that may be? And so for you, it seems like that was the case. You have to stand as a testament of your healing.
Yeah. This is your time to shine. This is my time to shine. This is the moment. This is the test. This is you practicing what you preach. This is your moment to shine.
Wow.
And, I heard worrying is trying to pay a debt you don't owe. We oftentimes are our greatest challenge is us.
Yep.
Our greatest test is us. Our greatest difficulty is us, because anything for you won't miss you. And anything that belongs to you can't be taken from you.
Wow.
But we can let it go.
Yeah.
We cannot pursue it.
Yeah.
We cannot go after it. We are our greatest challenge. We are our greatest test. And in that moment, I realized, Ben, no one's stopping you from going to the funeral but you. No one's stopping you from writing this eulogy but you. No one's stopping you from going after your healing but you. Unfortunately, sometimes the scars and wounds that are caused by people in our lives, parents, whomever, relatives, won't be healed by those people. We have to go after healing ourselves. So how dare me let someone who's not even alive anymore still hurt me, still influence me, still cause me to be counter to myself, which is love. Still cause, I can't give love to strangers, but not give love to family.
Yeah, that's real.
I can't be out here ministering and showering people with love and not love the people that I do know.
Yeah. It's a tough part. That's a guilty portion for me.
Yeah.
And it's because we always know to practice love, to practice compassion, but we compartmentalize it by choosing to give love and compassion to select groups of people. I still find it very strange, even to kind of bring it to part one, where it's very easy for us to accept that Pastor so-and-so got drunk and was found on the side of the road than it is to forgive him for stepping out on his wife.
Yeah.
It's very easy, but we choose to place love. We choose to place compassion in the compartments of our life that's comfortable for us. Like, we choose that versus saying that if God is all loving, then we should be following the path of God, following the path of Jesus the Christ, the one who we're saying that we're marking an example after. Like, there's no buckets to give love in. It's shower for all people.
But back to the theme of being open, that is that unconditional love. That's the open love. That's the love that has no boundaries. That's the love that has no limits. That is the love that is truly agape love, brotherly love that comes from the divine, right? That's the love that say, I know you just slashed my back with a whip.
Yep.
I'm going to forgive you.
Yeah.
I love you. Now, I'm not going to stand back there and let you do it again.
For sure.
But I'm going to forgive you. I'm going to love you. I'm going to move on and not let what you do, what you have done, and who you are impact who I am. It's easy for us to give love to a stranger because we're not tied to that love. When we have to show love to our enemy, when we have to show love to those who've harmed us, when we have to show love to people we don't like, that's where the greatest challenge comes in. Because we have to then overcome all of the things that are telling us don't love them.
I'm enslaved to my freedom when I allow your hate to take my freedom away.
Yeah.
You say that again differently. I'm enslaved to hate when I allow your hate to take away my freedom.
Yeah.
My openness. I always share this quote as often as I can. We mentioned him in the first part of this, Bishop Carlton Pearson. I'll never forget something that he shared. And I don't know if I was in person when he shared this or listening, but he says, when I say that I love you, what I'm saying is that when I'm with you, you bring love out of me. When I say that I hate you, there's something about you that brings hate out of me. That's one of the deepest things that I've ever heard him say. There are many. That's one of them, that we have to be in control of the decisions that we make that impact our openness. We have to be in control of that.
Yeah.
Part 2, y'all. This is part 2 with Benjamin Carlton, a phenomenal brother who's doing phenomenal work. Today, his book is not here, but Ben, as we close out, if you can just remind the people the title of your book, where to find it. Of course, the ebook is now available as well, but also your social channels so they can continue to follow your greatness.
Yep. I'm Black. I'm a minister. I'm gay, on all platforms, Amazon, or you can go to my website, blacklovewins.com. Black Love Wins, because it does.
It does.
And I have my audiobook available on all platforms, audiobook, Google Play, Spotify. It's better on audiobook. You get to hear me tell my story, hear me laugh out loud at my own self. It is truly, from all the reviews I've read and feedback I've got, that it's truly an experience to bring the words to life. So, and then on the socials at I Ben Carlton on Instagram, and I've been Carlton on Facebook, and on TikTok, but I'm mainly on IG and Facebook. Can't rock with Twitter because of Elon.
Yep.
All the things, but yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, y'all know where to find him. He dropped it. If you're watching, the links that's flying up on the screen, as well as his social handles. So we'll make sure that you get this episode, as well as part 1, gets the recognition that it deserves, because I believe that this is a conversation that can help shift the narrative in conversation about openness in any regard, but also to continue to support the conversation that is oftentimes very complicated to understand, which is openness.
Yeah.
But I do believe that we explored or treated some topics and some stories that will help open the minds of people.
Yeah. And I just want to close by saying openness and being open is all about making decisions. And if every day, every week, every month, every quarter, every year, you are not making a decision, making decisions, then who's really in the driver's seat? Who's making the decisions for you? And oftentimes we rely on society to make decisions for us. Society tells us who we should love, who we shouldn't. Society tells us, what side of the aisle we need to be on. Society tells us what we need to believe about God and what God is. Most times you ask people about God and it's something they've heard, but never anything they've experienced.
No.
And so if you are not making a decision about your life every day, every week, every quarter, every year, then who is really in the driver's seat of your life? Wow. And when you get to the end, will you be experiencing the culmination of decisions you did make or the culminations of decisions you did not make?
Wow. Benjamin Carlton, I just want to record podcasts. Thank you. Thank you for joining us on the I Just Want to Record podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow so that we can inspire more people just like you. Until next time, I'm Matthew Newman, aka Mr. Catch on Fire, signing off.